The final film in the Guardians of the Galaxy franchise, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm of course a big MCU fan, and the Guardians of the Galaxy films are no exception. The first film was my favorite movie of 2014, and is probably in my top 5 for the MCU. I don't think Guardians of the Galaxy 2 was as good, but I think it was still a phenomenally made movie, and was one of the best ones of 2017 for me. So, I of course had high hopes for this one. I want to say this was my most anticipated, but I don't know. It was kind of a toss-up between this one and Ant-Man. If you guys saw my rant on the Marvels trailer, you know I think that one kind of looks like garbage. I think that is probably the first time I've seen an MCU movie trailer and been, this looks like hot garbage. Because even ones that I don't think are very good, like Captain Marvel or Spider-Man Far From Home, the trailer still looked pretty good, so yeah, I don't have a ton of hype for that one. Honestly, the next Marvel movie I'm actually legitimately looking forward to is Kraven the Hunter, so we'll see what Sony does with that. But this one was definitely in one of my most anticipated of the year, if not my most anticipated of the year, and it definitely lived up to it. This is a fantastic movie. I had been hearing a lot of good stuff about this. Pretty much whenever anything MCU related comes out, you hear a bunch of people bitching about shit that doesn't even matter. Like, they'll take one thing from the movie, and that's the reason why and use that as a reason why it's bad. Like Ant-Man the Wasp, the easy target was MODOK. It definitely wasn't top tier MCU, but it wasn't a bad movie, and honestly, I don't even think MODOK was that bad in that movie. Maybe I'll do a full video on MODOK, who knows, but yeah, okay, I don't really know how to start this. Let's get the easy stuff out of the way first, because I do want to do a spoiler corner, like, later on in the video, so I can because there are some specific things I want to talk about. So, I'll throw out the easy stuff first. Of course, the cast is all great. Chris Pratt, Zoe Saldana, Karen Gillan, even Dave Bautista, who I've never thought is a great actor. This is easily his best performance that I've seen. Pom Clementine, I honestly have no idea how to say her name. She does pretty good, but the standout here is definitely Bradley Cooper as Rocket. And Vin Diesel does pretty good as Groot. I like seeing Sean Gunn as Kragan, I think that's his name. And they give a few more lines they give a little bit more screen time to Cosmo in this one, which is fine. I actually don't mind I actually like Cosmo in this franchise. I like seeing Sylvester Stallone in pretty much anything. He's one of my favorite actors on the planet, so it's always nice to see him. And I'm glad they didn't just ditch the fact that they tease the other Ravagers at the end of the second movie and didn't just do away with that. They actually do make an appearance in this movie. They don't do much, but they're here. I don't know the actor who plays, the High Evolutionary. He went kind of into the over-the-top villain territory, but honestly, I'm kind of okay with that. I like movies that can make your villain sympathetic, or at least empathetic, like Marvel did with Thanos, or they did with Loki. You're able to feel for them, or you can at least understand where they're coming from. High Evolutionary, he has a motivation that he believes is right. But cause he's an asshole, so it's like, even though what he's saying sounds good in concept, the way he does it is just straight up not okay. And again, he's a dick, so you can kind of tell he needs to be taken down. Similar to Thanos, even though Thanos is obviously still the best villain the MCU's ever had. Or how, like, Vulture did, he had an understandable motivation, so pretty much anybody, but since 2017, all of the villains that the movies have had some understandable motivations, mostly. I'm trying to remember, I guess the Black Widow one didn't, and that's another one that was just straight up evil. I actually really liked Will Poulter as Adam Warlock in this movie. They went for the route of that he's extremely young. Like, he's kind of like a teenager. And I did think that was a little weird casting a dude who's in his 30s to do that. But I like how he played the character, and it does make sense. He just got out of the cocoon, and it's even stated in the movie that High Evolutionary took him out of the cocoon early. So he doesn't fully he doesn't, he's not like fully grown, at least here. He looks like a fully grown man, but he kind of acts like a teenager. So at least there's a reason for that, and it does make sense. I was kind of worried that they killed him off in the first fight scene, because that's what it kind of looked like, but thankfully they didn't. He's in more of the movie. And I do kind of like his arc. I do wish he had been involved in the final battle a bit more, but how they did it, I thought was perfectly fine. This is something similar to MODOK, where I have a feeling that the fact that he's not in 100% of the movie, that people are gonna bitch about it, and just like MODOK's like, oh, he looks weird, it's like, so? Like, they have a vision for this character, and I'm excited to see what they do with Warlock in the future, because he is still around at the end of the movie, and he's not a villain anymore. So I do like that, because Adam Warlock, he's not a villain in the comics. I don't know how many people these days have actually read comics. I know there are a ton of Marvel fans out there who have never touched a comic book in their lives. They just are fans based on the movies, and that's fine. But it does help to have third-party information like I do. So, and I know a lot of people were angry with Infinity War that didn't have Adam Warlock because he's the one who kills Thanos in the comics. I didn't give a shit. I think having Iron Man kill him made a lot more sense for this franchise instead of some dude who came out of nowhere. So, I'm excited to see what they do with him. I'm excited to see him in Kang Dynasty. I'm excited to see all these characters in Kang Dynasty, because you know this isn't going to be the last time they show up. They even say that Star-Lord's coming back, so they're teasing that they're going to show up in Kang Dynasty, and they kind of have to. The visual effects, of course, look great. I saw this in 3D, and it definitely deserves to be seen that way. Just like Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania, it deserves to be seen in 3D. It looks phenomenal, and the action sequences are a lot of fun. I especially love the one-take action sequence that happens near the end of the movie, where it's a combination of practical stunts and CGI. I thought it all blended together seamlessly. I thought it was a fantastic action sequence, and this movie's just fun as hell to watch. Now, the comedy of the MCU has been a point of contention for recent years. And again, it's just something, it's a complaint that popped up out of nowhere, just so people can bitch about it, because they've had the same type of comedy ever since the first Avengers movie. Yet all of a sudden, after Endgame, it became a problem. Really? And the comedy is really well done in these movies. Generally, I'm not really a fan of James Gunn's comedy, like the Scooby-Doo movies or the Suicide Squad. I hated those movies, but I really but the Guardians just seems to be the right fit for him, for some reason. I don't think it's as funny as the first two. I think the first two had some more creative and out there humor. This one plays it a bit more safe with the humor, but it's still well done, so I don't really care that they played it safe with that. And yeah, I guess now I'll get into the spoiler corner. This isn't going to be talking about major details, at least mostly. I will talk about a few major details, but there are like some smaller scenes I want to talk about. First off, yes, you may have heard, and I heard before I saw the movie, that this contains the MCU's first F-bomb. And I'm getting really sick of and while I've been getting really sick of PG-13 movies shoving in an F-bomb into their movies, it can be done well, if it's done for comedic purposes. If it's done to make your movie seem edgier, it fails. I'm looking at you, Dark Phoenix, and Apocalypse. So yeah, but there are ones that can do it well. Like First Class was the first one to do it, and it was pretty funny. Days of Future Past references First Class by doing it, so it makes sense there. Venom Let There Be... The first Venom movie was incredibly forced, but the second one I thought was pretty funny. Free Guys is probably the worst one I've ever seen. This one, I knew the F-bomb was coming ahead of time. I knew it was in the movie, but where they placed it, I thought was pretty funny. I thought, because had I not known about it ahead of time, I probably would have laughed my ass off. I still did laugh because, again, I didn't know where it was going to be. But had I not known it was in the movie, I probably would have just busted. I probably would have fallen out of my seat laughing because it was pretty damn funny. And like I said, the humor's done pretty well for the most part. I like that we get to see Rocket's backstory, finally. I like him with his friends, Lila, Flora, and, what was the walrus's name? Teeves? I think it was Teeves. Yeah, I like seeing his backstory. This movie was not afraid to get dark in places. And that's another bullshit complaint I've seen for this movie is that, oh, it went too dark. It's like, really? These are the same critics that have been saying Marvel's too lighthearted and needs to go darker. It's the same thing that happened with Eternals. People kept saying, we want something different from the Marvel formula, which is another complaint that is not very well backed up. And then they release Eternals, which is a completely different style of movie from what they've done, and then people bitch about how it doesn't feel like a Marvel movie. Then this one, people complain that Marvel's too lighthearted, they need to go darker. This movie goes darker, and then all of a sudden it's too dark. Make up your fucking mind. Marvel just won't win with some people. There are some people that will complain no matter what, whether the movie is a masterpiece or whether it deserves to be ridiculed, like the Marvels probably will be. They will find BS ways to bitch about it. But yeah, especially like the scene where they take off High Evolutionary's skin, essentially, because he's now wearing his own skin as a mask. That got pretty dark, and I'm surprised I'm surprised Marvel was allowing Gunn to do that. And especially when Rocket, like, claws at him earlier in the movie and, like, causes that, I'm surprised how violent it actually got. Ugh. And I do like the resolution for this film. I'm glad they didn't... one thing I will say... I know a lot of people were saying, who are they going to kill off in this movie? They've got to kill somebody. I wasn't wondering who they were going to kill off. I was wondering, are they going to kill off anybody? Because everybody was assuming that Endgame would, like, kill off, like, half... Well, I guess Infinity War did that, but Endgame would kill off a shitload of characters. And they only killed off a few. And then one turned into an old man, but I digress. Like, some died, some retired. It's like... So... I was wondering if this movie was actually going to kill anybody, and I was honestly okay with it either way, and they didn't. And that was I was a little surprised that they didn't, but especially since I think this is supposed to be Dave Bautista's last movie, so I'm surprised they didn't kill Drax off. That was kind of like, if they kill one off, I'm like, it's probably going to be Drax, because I've been hearing things that this is Bautista's last one. So, I don't know. I don't know what they're doing with a lot of these characters, because they separate a lot of them at the end. But I know Star-Lord's coming back, and then they had the new Guardians with Rocket and Kragan, Adam Warlock, that kid, I can't remember her name. Like, it's a one from the comics, I know it is, but I can't remember. And then Groot. And the Nebula and Drax are still hanging around on Nowhere as well. I'm not exactly sure where Mantis went. They never really explain it, but that's okay. And like I said, Quill's coming back, because they even say in an after-credit scene. And something else, I'm really sick of these end credit scenes that you sit in the theater for 10 minutes watching credits for absolutely nothing. I'm really sick, because it started with fucking Spider-Man Homecoming, with that stupid-ass end credit scene with Captain America doing those damn videos. And it was kind of mocking the fact, like, oh yeah, you sat here forever just for this. And then they did with Ant-Man and the Wasp, with the end credit scene. It's just the ant playing the toy drums again. It's been happening too much. And this is another example where the mid-credit scene will actually lead to something, or could. Spider-Man Homecoming, again, had their mid-credit scene that hasn't amounted to jack shit so far, and it's been almost a decade. And then the second scene, you couldn't cut and miss nothing. I sat in the theater for 10 minutes for absolutely nothing, just to say, oh yeah, Star-Lord's coming back, after a little short scene that wasn't even that funny, just to say, oh yeah, Star-Lord's coming back. Yeah, no shit, Chris Pratt's like one of the most beloved actors in the MCU. I don't think he's gonna want to walk away from that just yet. But, okay, is there anything else? Oh, of course the soundtrack is awesome. Like, I forgot to talk about that. The soundtrack is pretty good. The first one is, like, peak, like, 70s, 80s nostalgia stuff, so I was okay. So I think the first one had the best soundtrack in all of them. I'm trying to figure out which one of the Guardians movies, like, how to rank them. Because I think the first one is the best one. That one's not even a contest, because it's just that good. I think this one might have been better than Volume 2, because first one easily had the best comedy and probably had the best script. The second movie had the strongest villain. And this one I'd say... This one I would probably say had the best action sequences, and I would say and introduced some new ideas that I really did like. So they're all kind of holding hands because I love all three of them. So these are some of my favorite Marvel movies. They're some of my favorite movies. So, yeah, and I'm glad this was a great finale. Although, if the DCU fails, like, really quickly, I could see James Gunn immediately jumping back for a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4. Like, if the DCU fails within a few years of it starting, expect a Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 4 announcement in, like, 2027 if his DCU doesn't kick off. So, that's all I got for Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3. I'm giving this an A+, just because I just love these movies. I love the Guardians movies so much, and this was a perfect finale. So that's all I got, and I will see you all next time. Bye.